Alright, CNT120, we're looking at our network design lab. I'm going to show you in this podcast how to get your network diagram started and, a couple tricks of working with it, as well as how to get this thing prepared for submission. I'm going to encourage you to use Draw.io. The main reason is this runs in your browser and connects right up to your Google Drive, so it's relatively easy to work with at different times and on different machines and in different locations. So, log into My Hack. Once you're in My Hack, there should be an option up here for Google Apps. Click on that guy. Mine is Drive for Employees. You'll do Drive for Students. Open your Google Drive. Once that's open, what we most likely want to do, I have a 120 folder, so I'm going to open my 120 folder. I have a DesignLab folder. I'm going to open that guy. And, if you don't have a folder, I'll show you how to do that. But if you do, that's kind of where I'm navigating to. What I might want to do at this point, just say new folder if you haven't done that. And I'll create one for me called Fall 2017 for our semester. So I'll create a folder here. It's working on adding it, and it should plop it in here when it's done. The next thing I want to do is I want to connect up my Draw.io app. I was thinking it's a long time to work on that guy. There we go. There's my Fall 17. I want to connect my Draw.io app up to my Google Drive. So I'm going to come over here and do New, and here's a couple options for me, but I'm going to go under More, and I already have it connected, but I'll show you. If I connect with more apps, this will allow me to search for different apps I can use, and I'm going to do Draw.io. Draw.io. That should come up here. Once I see that, I'll do a connect to, and that'll allow that to connect up to my Google Drive, and now I can go New, under More, do Draw.io diagrams. It'll create a Draw.io, allow that as a pop-up, and as I draw, it'll be saving into my folder here, my DesignLab folder, if you will. So I'll give it a name. I'll come in here and I'll give it a name. I'm going to keep the .html extension, and I'll do CNT120 Design Lab, and I'm going to give it a Fall 17 for me, so I know what semester this is. I'll do blank diagram. That's okay. I'll do a create. And what that should be doing is starting the Draw.io app and actually creating that file here for me, that when I save, it should be saving into there for me, into this right here. Alright, so if I do a file and I do no, actually, I was going to say it should be doing that for me. It should be creating it here as I actually start drawing with it. Okay, what I want to do is I want to create, what I'm after is basically creating this with my own gear. So I'll start off by doing the cloud to my firewall to my router and so forth. So over here on the left, under Shapes, okay, under Shapes, I want to add more shapes. So down here in the bottom, I'll click More Shapes. I'm going to scroll down until I find things like Cisco. I'll click on that, and I might even click on Network, so I get a couple different options for icons. And I'll say Apply. Those should now be on the list of icons that it's going to search from. And I want to start off by doing a network cloud that I'll use for representing the ISP connection. So I'll come up here and I'll do cloud and search for that, and I should see some network icon clouds. So I'll click that guy, drag it right out here, and let it go. And I can resize this just like I would expect. I'm going to double click on top of this guy, and I'll put a label of ISP. And right there I see ISP pop up, and if I wanted to, I could highlight that and adjust the size over here, just like I would with most other programs. I can even change the color if I want to here. Font color is white. I can make it black if I wanted to. Okay, so a lot of things I'm used to dealing with applications. Actually, we'll do font color. There we are. Apply that guy. There we go. Where are you? Why aren't you doing that? 17 font. We'll do bold on that guy. Alright, I'll come back and play with that later. Okay. There's my ISP connection, or my ISP cloud. The next thing I would have, and we're going to use a router or a firewall and router here. So I'm going to put a firewall next, so I will do a search over here for firewall. And I can use a generic symbol like this, that's okay. I can use something like that if I want to. I'll use the firewall symbol, put it out here. And now I want to connect these two. So I'm going to use a little connection line. Come right here, pick a line, and I can click and drag that on top of here. I can click and drag that on top of here, and it should connect the two. Yay! And if I wanted to, when I highlight my line, this gives me features about that I can change. I can do diagonal line, I can do zigzag, etc. I can pick some options here of what I like to use. Now, from there, I'm going to have my router. So let's do a little search over here for a router. And I can use I'm going to use more results because I want a typical router symbol like this. I need a basic router symbol like this that is relatively universal. That's what I'm looking for, this basic router symbol. So I will connect now. I'll use my line tool over here, and I'll connect my router to my, let's get out of here. I'll do a Control-X and get rid of that. These two are connected, but I don't like that. I'm going to do my straight line. I'm going to get rid of the arrow here too. That's how I can edit that. I shall do, I need to do none. Where is none? There's none. And now I have just a straight line between those two. Alright, moving on there, I have a switch below that. So I'm now going to do another search, and I'll plug in a switch for my next device. And I'm just going to work my way down through. I'm going to get lots of options on this one. So maybe I want to do Ethernet switch, and see if that picks up any better options for me. Because I'm looking for a square symbol showing work group switch. So maybe I'll do a work group switch on this guy. We'll do a work group switch. That's what I'm really looking for. That is the symbol I'm looking for, this little square block. And again, I'll click and drag my line symbol over here, and I will connect this guy here to this guy here. Boom. Okay. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm going to keep working my way down until I get all the pieces. Next two things I'm going to have are workstations and access points. So I'll come up here and I'll put in workstation. And I have symbols here for workstation. I can use simple Windows PC or PC option here. And I'll connect that up too. Now, I can also do this too. Here's another little feature. Once I have that highlighted, there's little arrows that show up on the side. I can just click that arrow, hold it down, and let it go when it's up here, and it'll connect for me. And that way it connects that way too. Now, if I look back at my plan, I see there's different areas of my plan. Offices, support, all that jazz. Well, it's really these parts of my plan. So what I want to do is I want to at least show each area of my plan with an icon. So what I can do is next to this, I can put a little label that shows that this is IT Admin Office or Office 1, that sort of thing. So out here, I can just double click and start typing and say, this is Office 1. I'll hit enter and say, quantity of 2 PCs or something like that, and put in a couple of these tidbits about what's in Office 1. And that's what we're seeing up here. Under Office 1, we see a quantity of 2 PCs, that sort of thing. So I can put a label there to represent that is this particular office. And what I can do now is highlight this, Control-C, Control-V, paste this in, and this can be my second office. So I can say Office 1, I'll edit this guy to be Office 2. And I'll repeat that for all the areas of my plan. So I'm going to keep repeating that until I represent all these areas of my plan so I have quantities of things. So I'll do one of those icon setups for each of those. Now I have all the areas of my plan represented. The only last thing I really need is, if I take a peek, I do need wireless access points here. So up here under search, maybe I'll do a WAP. That's alright. That's not too bad. That's a wireless router. Let's do wireless LAN. That's a controller. Let's do access point, because I'm looking for roughly this symbol here. That is your access point symbol, and that guy's going to connect right into there. So now I have the basic structure. What I want to do now is I need to come back and start plugging in some specifics. So next to my firewall, I'll put a little label that says this is my firewall. And I will come back later when I pick this piece of equipment out and put the model number next to it. So I might end up having here, if I take a look, I might have, Cisco, ASA, blah, 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 firewall. I will eventually have that. I will put down what it is and the model number next to each one. So over here again, this will be my router, and I will most likely have something like Cisco 29 blah blah model router. And I will repeat that for all the devices in here. This is my work group switch, and I'll probably indicate that this is like a 48 port switch. That's most likely what I'm going to select. And again, Cisco blah 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 switch. Okay, and I want to get the basics in here for all these down through. This is my access point, Cisco blah 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 AP, and I'll probably put on here quantity of 2, something like that. And I'm going to do that for all the major pieces of equipment in my plan. Now I have the rough structure in here of what I see here. Now as I pick up my gear in the next part of my plan, I can come back and start putting model numbers in. Now what I'll do while I'm here is I'm going to make sure that this is indeed saving. So let's do a CNT120 DesignLab. Let's do a rename. And I do want to make sure this is indeed saving in my DesignLab folder. So I'm going to go here, and I don't know, I'm looking for where it actually saved to. And it says fall 17. So let me do a file. I just want to make sure it is. Let's do a move to folder. I'm going to do a move to folder and make sure it is getting into my drive. So I'll do 120, I'll do DesignLab, and I'll do fall 17 and make sure it is there. Google Drive. CNT120 DesignLab, fall 17, there we go. We'll select that. And I'm just going to make sure it's getting there. I want to make sure it's in there before I go any further. Let me pause for a second. It seems like it's hanging up on something. Let me pause 1 second. Okay, I just had to give it a second update. I actually have it out here. 120 DesignLab, fall 17. Just making sure it's saved before I close anything out or any of that jazz. So I'm going to continue till I represent all the areas of my plan. And again, I'm shooting for something like, this is one a student did some time ago. There's my router, there's my switch, there's my access point, and then each area of my plan. I want to represent each area of my plan so that we know where all the switch ports are getting used, where all the pieces of equipment are getting used, etc. And what might be helpful is this guy did, he actually showed you color-coded different areas of the plan too. If that, if that's going to help you keep things organized, do that by all means. And that's what I'm working towards. So I'll keep going until I get that. When I have all that done, this is saving as I go. For submission to D2L, I will do a file, and I'll do export as something like I can do a PNG or PDF. Either one is easy. I'll do file export PNG. I'll say a whole thing, absolutely, export. I'll save it right to my drive. And I'll just indicate what folder. I'll say 120 DesignLab. That's where I've been putting things. There's fall 17. I'll do select. And it should be creating for me in my fall 17 folder a little JPEG. If I give it a second, it'll create a little graphic file for me that I can use for submission. That's what I should be seeing if I give it a second or two here. Under fall 17. This was taking a little while earlier. It'll show up here, and that is the file I can use for submission. And that's what I'm showing you right here. When you're done with your DesignLab, you're going to export as a PNG, JPEG, PDF, that sort of thing. Save that file. That is the file you use for submission for the map part of your DesignLab. There is the map or network diagram part of your DesignLab.